Hey guys, how's it going? It's me here, Zach, aka Jazzy Zen, bringing you a new video on the How to Win More series. This time we're going to be focusing on Gruul Adventures. That's right, the School of Gruul is in session. But before that, check out this new mic that I got. This thing's sweet, and hopefully my voice sounds pretty cool with it too. Alright, so with today's video, we're going to be going over two things. Number one is what kind of differences in the decks there are, and we're also going to be going over the strengths and weaknesses of Gruul in Standard right now. So yeah, let's hop right into that. So this deck right here, this is the one I've been using in Ladder recently. I also used this for the Arena Open, and I went 4-2, 4-3. I forget how many losses you get. You got like $100 in rewards. I was really hoping for the money, but maybe next time. And we were able to secure top 300 Mythic with this deck, and that got us entered in the Zendikar qualifier for this upcoming weekend. So that is also pretty cool. So the deck has shown that it is very strong, and it is pretty good against the meta right now. Let's hop into the specifics of the deck real quick. I think one of the things that makes this deck so strong is its ability to work with Fabled Passage. And the creatures that just naturally benefit off of it make it a very strong deck right now in general. So yeah, let's talk about Great Henge and Embercleave being in the same deck. It's pretty insane for creatures, if I'm gonna be honest. That's all you really want as a deck, is pure aggression, and then you sling out an Embercleave, and then you have the Great Henge as a way to rebuild after maybe some board clear or something catastrophic happens, and you have a way of clinging back at the match. And I think that's really a good thing about this deck. Let's look at my deck. Some things are a little different than a lot of decks, and I'll tell you kind of why I have that the way they are, and then we'll go look at some decks that people have also had success with and kind of compare and contrast them real quick. So I recently took out one Chatter Skull Smashing and a Forest to put in two Crawling Barrens. I feel like the only issue I ever have with this deck is that I have too many lands. Very often I'll just flood out, and I think there's already, let's check out how many lands there are. We got 23 lands over here, and then we got 4 here, we have 3 here, 7 lands there. Yeah, we're looking at 30 lands potentially in our deck, in an aggressive deck. And for me, it feels like a lot, and I'm not sure how to quite fix this problem. My idea was add the Crawling Barrens so that we could have some way to put mana into a land, and we could attack and maybe have a Embercleave or something. But yeah, the one thing that I keep on struggling with was having too many lands, just because the creatures can also be lands, and the Bolt land, of course, can be both a spell and a land. That being said, the Mammoth and the Bolt land are freaking phenomenal. You'll often have enough mana to be able to cast this or X of 6, and you get to blow up an Ugin, for example. I did that today. And something else. I blew up an Ugin and their creature. They had a shark token or something. Killed them both. Felt awesome. Yeah. Now I think a lot of the Gruul decks are now transitioning to having one A Crow on War main boarded. This card is really useful in every matchup basically, except for Teamer, Ramp, and Rogues maybe. Just because you, against a mirror match, you're gonna want their creature because it's the same thing you got. So that's pretty good. If you're against Rakdos, you might want to steal a Kroxa, Rock On. You could attack them with it. You get around a lot of situations with this card, especially if a really big blocker. You just go yoink, and then you go to good, and it's a really good card. Forcing a lot of people to attack too is also really good because it then kills all the creatures. It's just a pretty insane card. Yeah, and also having 2 Rimrock Knights. I don't know if everyone's running Rimrock Knight in this deck, but I think it is a very good card just for the turn 1 Edgewall, turn 2 Rimrock. You just get draws, you get an aggressive attacker You get more things to fill out your curve, and I think it is a really good addition to the deck. But yeah, that's my deck. I'm gonna save the sideboard for the next video when we talk about matches and like matchups and what you should be siding, when to side it, on the play, on the draw, things like that. For now, we're just looking at the main board and kind of getting understanding of the deck. Alrighty, so all I've done is I typed in Gruul Adventures standard into Google and with the MTG Arena Zone. And yeah, we're just gonna take a look at a few of these decks, see what they got, what's different, what's the same, and we'll just talk about it. So let's hop in. Yeah, this guy got number 19 Mythic. This guy went 7-0 in the day 2 arena. So maybe let's check out these guys. Mythic player, and the guy did really well in the recent event. So here we are. All right, let's not look at that sideboard real quick. So he's got 4 Embercleave, 2 Henge like us, 1 Crow and War like us. His mana base is basically the same. He is running an Evolving Wilds. I used to run Evolving Wilds, and I found a lot of times it was not what I wanted all the time. I felt like I had a lot of tap lands and often wasn't getting the best curve. And so I opted to take it out, but it does have the ability to be really powerful. And if it's something you want to put in your deck, totally fine to do so. It does have a high up end with not too much of a low end on it. But for me, it just proved to be too inconsistent, so I just didn't like it personally. Oh, he's got 2 Gem Razor. That's something I've been thinking about doing. And Stone Coil Serpent. So this is what I was thinking as like the original kind of Gruul Adventures deck list, where you have your serpents as a way to enable your Lovestruck Beast, and you have the Gem Racer to combo on top of that to blow up something, as well as be a humongous beat stick with trample and protection from all these things. I think Stone Coil Serpent is really freaking cool right now, especially in the mirror match. It blocks out a bunch of creatures. In the rogue matchup, it blocks out a lot of things. The Rakdos matchup, it blocks out things. It stops Yorion. Like, there's so many things that make this a really good card that I've often thought about adding it to my deck, along with the Gem Racer, because that's like the combo with them. He's also running 3 Questing Beasts, so he's definitely a more aggressive mid-range deck as compared to ours with the lower like adding 1 more of these, and like the Gem Razors, it's kind of like taking out our Rimrock Knights and putting these in. So they're more focusing on the mid of the game, where my current deck is focusing on like the early game. Yeah. So yeah, this thing's pretty sick. They got one of the green mythic lands, the Turn Timber Symbiosis. That's pretty cool. Be able to like search through your deck and get a creature off the top. Might be worth it. I should probably put one of those in my deck. I think. Might as well, right? I mean, it's just a bolt land. You use the green colors more often. Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Especially to make up place of my 1 Shatter Skull that I took out. Yeah, seems pretty sick. I like this guy's deck. Alrighty, guys. So here we are. We're looking at the Day Ward Gruul Adventures deck. He got 7-0 in the Day 2 portion of the Arena Open, which is very impressive. And let's check out his deck. So instantly I see a Planeswalker in the main board, the Vivian Monsters Advocate. That's usually saved in the sideboard for like value matches where you want to be able to side in something so that throughout the course of the game you can outvalue your opponent and be able to beat them down over time. And that's really interesting that he has it included in the main board where most of them do not. He also has 2 Scorching Dragonfires in the main board, which I think is just a call out to the meta. A lot of things that are important creatures have 3 toughness, and it's all around good against rogues. So if you're expecting to fight against a lot of those, you're just going to smoke them, basically. And yeah, I think that's a really good call to bring to a tournament. He's got 3 Embercleave, which a lot of... I think a lot of the Gruul decks are in between 3 and 4. 3 is definitely a playable number. 4 is just if you want to focus on Embercleaving more. So I think if you're more mid-rangey, maybe 3 is the way to go. But if you're more like early aggro, 4 definitely the way to go, in my opinion. And 1 Great Henge. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Great Henge is like really great if you hit it, but it's not so great if you don't and you draw into it later on. Yeah, you kind of need it in your first hand or it's not that good. The Crow and War is great. He's got a sick mana base. I think that's really simple and clean. I like it. He's got 3 of the Smashing Skulls, 2 Primal Might. Primal Might's a really good card. It is definitely one of green's best ways of interacting with other creatures and taking control of the board. I used to run one of them, but I recently cut it out. I've been thinking about whether or not I should put it back in, but I really like him running the 2 Primal Mights and the 2 Scorching Dragonfires a lot. I think it's a lot of good ways to interact with things, and it keeps you prepared for a lot of matches. It also gives you good things to side out, so you can keep your main deck intact, I guess. 3 Oozes is sick, 3 Questing Beasts. This guy's also very aggressive, and then 4 Elves of everything else. That's really cool. It's a good looking deck. Alrighty, so now that we've kind of got ourselves familiar with what the decks are, what kind of different variants are, what kind of cards can you put in if you want like maybe this style of it or that style of it. Definitely think there is the more mid-range with the Stone Coil Serpents and the more aggro version with the Rimrock Knights. So let's talk about the strengths of this deck compared to other decks. For example, why is this deck maybe better than Mono Red in our last video? Well, green creatures are very big. That's basically it. So like this deck has a really good mana base. You could basically run it with 0 tap lands, which a lot of decks are forced to run right now with the scry lands and temples and stuff. So you don't have that problem really. The one land that may come in tapped is the Fabled Passage, and that buffs 2 of your creatures. So that alone like kind of fizzes out that whole problem of having a tap land, because it actually makes your 2-drop a 5/5 or your 3-drop a 7/7, and it's so big. You can play X Great Henge super cheap. You can like Ember Cleave on turn 4 as an 8/8. Like that's 16 damage right there if they don't block it. Like it's so big. So yeah, the just pure stats of the green creatures coupled with Amber Cleave is just so devastating. Can take people out really quick, and it's very consistent at doing that. It also has a lot of like built-in counters to the meta, and by built-in counters I mean Scavenging Ooze that beats Rakdos decks. If they don't have a removal spell right when you play it, and you have an open green, you can just eat their Kroxa out of their graveyard, and then their whole strategy is like almost out the window. You have the Brushfire Elemental that can just rush through basically every creature in a Yorion deck. It can get through the Teamer ramp decks. It just is super hasty and super strong, and it also enables your Lovestruck Beast. Like there's so many ways that you can push out aggression super fast in this deck and draw. Having the access to the Innkeeper, like that right there alone is one of the stronger parts of the deck too, is being able to have your creature draw engine that leads into your creature draw engine of the Great Henge and stuff like that. So all these things kind of come together in this way that you have this deck that doesn't slow itself down from its mana base, has very well statted creatures that can be very difficult to remove, especially like for other decks with green and red. Killing a Lovestruck Beast is so hard. Killing a Questing Beast is so hard. The 4 toughness really is super difficult to deal with, and makes a lot of decks struggle, unless you have black, because then you can just kill whatever as many times as you want. But outside of that, it has a really good matchup against all the current decks removal. I think it also has like such a good sideboard ability against a lot of decks that it makes it like it can go grindy, it can go aggro. It has so many different ways that you can play this deck that kind of lets you just steamroll everyone around you all the time. All right, guys, just as a recap for today, we went over 3 different deck lists, talking about the different choices, the more aggro versions, mid-range versions. We went over the strengths of Gruul in that it has good quality creatures, as well as its mana is really good for it in general. And we went over its weakness of how you can kind of flood out and it can feel bad sometimes. But yeah, the next video we're going to be talking about the sideboard and the matchups, and even after that video we're going to go through some gameplay, and I'll show you examples of like how you're going to play the deck and how to sideboard, and we'll go into that in the next 2 videos. And I think from here on out, each one of these kind of how to win videos is going to be broken down into 3 parts. 1 like theory, 2 sideboard matchups, and 3 application. So you get all the faces of the educational experience of the deck. If you guys are enjoying these kind of videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and check me out on Twitch. If you have any questions, something, feel free to ask me in there. And if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, see what new cards I've been posting about from the Commander Legends previews that I like. And yeah, see you guys on the next one. Peace.